Hello, CTV. My name is Tara. I'm 44 and live in Edmonton currently. What I would like to do is raise awareness for Autism Awareness Month, which just so happens to be April, and as well as possibly May in some other areas. Um, what I have is what many would call an invisible disability, which means that if you have what I have, uh, not everyone is going to use an aid or something that symbolizes that they have disabilities of any kind. Fact is that one would have to be actually trained in knowing what to look for if a person has such issues. Girls generally, for the most part, are taught to assimilate, which means that they can copycat all the necessary skills in order to blend in, so to say. That means that due to this blending in attribute, many girls don't get diagnosed until later in life. I was 39. Um, in many studies that I have seen, girls are thought to be tomboys and, again, not diagnosed. um, and primarily what goes on for education when it comes to studies is usually based towards kids with autism. And if it's adult, generally it is severe needs. But yet there's people like me. As you can see in this picture, I'm in a place where someone collects Star Wars memorabilia. That would be my husband. Yes, I am very much happily married. Yes, um, I live on my own. I'm very independent, but the small problem is that the resources do not fit the needs here in Edmonton. Therefore, what I have lived through my life, I would like to talk about. And because I have lived experience when it comes to programs and such, and what works and what most likely won't work for someone with a spectrum disorder, um, could come in handy for those that are interested in helping me out here. I mean, what is out there, I've run the gambit for programs and resources, and frankly, most don't understand, or they push you aside and ignore the fact that there's more to your issues than what is seen or heard. And some of us are nonverbal, us are verbal, um, but many of us all have one symptom. It's called a sensory issue. Um, I have sensory issues when it comes to heavily crowded places that have a lot of noise and too much visual um, information, and then my brain can't process what it's seeing or hearing. And yeah, uh, the information going in causes my brain to freeze, and I have a meltdown, which is very debilitating. Work environments cause me to, well, I try and get a job and I get liability thrown at me because I'm all, honest about what I have because, well, again, I have a neurological cognitive delay, which may cause issues in regards of needing certain things supplied so that I can have a good work experience. But who's going to be willing to do that if you don't look the part? Many in mainstream society think that disabilities have to have a look or sound uh, to it in order to be as disabled as people think. But here I am. I'm able to walk and talk and dress myself and do all that wonderful stuff. But mine has underlying factors for which also needs to be addressed. But no programs here fit my needs, let alone um, are willing to try. Anyway, what I'm hoping for is that one of you would be willing to do a series of segments to talk about how autism affects people, be it people that are like me, that are high functioning, or those that are in our lives that support us or love us or care for us. Um, the problem is that what is out there mainly goes to severe or seen issues. So if I have severe autistic issues for which group homes or um, things like that or of that nature would be beneficial. And then there's those that are like me who have underlying factors which make their life difficult where programs do not fit the need. And it is this that makes life difficult um, because of the lack of supports and the lack of knowledge that is out there. Because if there is any kind of video out there that deals with autism, if it's adults, chances are it's male and severe. And I know of about 50 people that are just like me, high functioning, but their issues differ because what we have is a spectrum disorder. How it affects me is not going to affect someone else in the same light. And this is my hope to bring across and to open up the tables and start talking about it, because our end of the spectrum where I sit and what I see is ignored. Therefore, my accessibility rights are being denied daily. This is not right. It's not fair. I've got friends who do not qualify for PDD because their IQ is way above what the minimum thing is. I believe that the IQ test that PDD throws out stands at about 70 IQ. So if you're above that, you get no resources, you get no funding, you get no help. Those that are like me that are grandfathered, well, the resources are very limited unless if you live in smaller communities for which may or may not supply what I need, because I know of only one program in all of Alberta that can supply my needs, but moving is A, expensive for most of us, B, for some of us, it is not an option because their partner is the main breadwinner, and C, why should I be forced to move when we can just bring the programs here and open up the talks so that people with lived experience like my own can also benefit from these programs, and as well as bring down the PDD programs for which deny people access to certain programs, such as the one that I suggest. What I highly recommend is that we have individualized services that are put towards the needs of the person based on ability, age, health, and diagnosis, and as well as interest. Because if you don't address the person as an individual, then what's left is a funnel system, and funnel systems don't work for us. Not all disabilities fall in the same category. We might have little bits and pieces of whatever little pretty box that they decide to throw up there, but we'll never fit in those groups. And those that live in the real life world, like I do, who face what you face, but can't read body language very well or have a hard time communicating or even socializing properly. You guys expect us to work or find work all on the basis or on the bias of how we look or act or talk. And frankly, that's not right in my books. What needs to be done is that if we have these individualized programs set in place for people like me, then we get taught on an individual level through properly set up programs that actually help you out in the real world, for which teach you a hands-on one-to-one base on how to properly socialize or communicate with people. And they also advocate for you. And most of these people have one little course behind them, better known as a disability studies course, which is easily taught over at the Bow Valley College. Here's the other aspect. The place that I came from was Peak Vocational Services. That program, if it weren't there, I wouldn't be doing this. Even though that making videos is both fun and scary for me, every part of me is telling me not to do this, but I do it because it what I say needs to be said, because I'm tired of being ignored. I'm tired of having to hide. I'm tired of people telling me that I should placate my symptoms rather than facing them. In order for a person to have a good, productive life, that means having the proper accommodations within the workplace, but also having the right supports within your life so that your husband or whatever family member doesn't have to be the one being the total breadwinner or the only one doing your advocacy or trying to explain to people why you had to disappear from a place because you're about to have a meltdown, and people saying, funny, you don't look, or jobs when you have an interview saying that you're a liability when all it takes is a little bit of accommodation and them asking you what you need in order to have a good working experience. Unfortunately, that's never been done, and I've been out of a job for 10 years. How Edmonton works when it comes to disabilities like mine is frustrating, beyond frustrating. And I'd like to change this, but in order to change this means that people like me have to talk. And I'm wondering if you'll allow it. Thanks.